Chris O'Connell's been our guest today from Theatre Absolute, photographer, writer, director, producer, actor. Is there anything you can't do? Still hasn't made the tea. Chris, thanks so much for coming on today.
It's been great. Thank you.
Love to get to know you and what you're about and what you're doing and what your passion is, which has clearly come across to us today. What's your plan, say, for the immediate future or the next year or whatever? What are you looking to do?
Well, it will be the photography stuff is ongoing, you know. So that's just as things kind of happen. From the Theatre Absolute point of view, we'll be continuing work at the Shopfront Theatre. We've just finished a 2-year project of work where we commissioned 9 writers over 2 years to produce their work at the shop. That came to an end in November last year, so we've currently got an application pending, excuse me, which should that be successful, that will give us money to make 3 years worth of work. So we'll be commissioning another 8 writers. I'll write something in the middle of that, so I'll contribute to it as well, which is a project we've started this quite an interesting process of working where we work around themes. So the last piece was called Are We Where We Are? That was the 9 pieces. I don't know how much time we've got, so I don't want to. But that was came from a provocation from a writer called Thoreau, who was an essayist who lived in America in the late 19th century, who wrote a brilliant thing once, which said, "We are not where we think we are, but in a false position." And he was, I think, thinking about the industrializing world and took himself away to contemplate that. And we began to think about that across socially, politically, across race, inclusion, justice, equality, all of those things that affect our lives, and use that as a provocation. We made it into a question: are we where we are? And that was the work we did over the last 2 years. So we've now working from another theme, which is called Humanistan, is the project, which will happen over the next 3 years, hopefully, which is an imaginary place, Humanistan, a place that I think we all kind of live in. We can't always access it.
Identify with that.
Yeah, and so it's and really just trying to get artists, because with the work we've commissioned sometimes has been with people who are writers but not necessarily performers who aren't necessarily writers, and some people who aren't either. So we really like to sort of explore and experiment with form as much as possible. So Humanistan will be the same approach, where I said to someone the other day, it's about commissioning minds rather than writers or actors. You know, it's just you want to, there's a mind that you respond to, people that you meet, but also trying to meet other minds, new minds. So we'll do call outs as well. So we'll work with people that we haven't yet met, but we will meet at some point over the next 3 years, for them to respond to what is Humanistan then? Write in response to that. It's your own interpretation of that, with the idea, I suppose, to try and tell those stories of that. I think increasingly my view is that we've talked about it a lot as a company, but my view is that the bigger circle, the bigger systems that surround us, that define our lives, we're unable to alter, we're unable to kind of take action against. That's my personal view, So where does it go? You kind of go into the inner circle, which is about our life and our time here together while we're here, and how do we make our lives useful to each other and to ourselves, so that our experience of being human the time that we're here is something we can control. So that's why I think you see there's so much activism around that, so many local initiatives, people trying to, we were talking about zines, again, it's another expression of that. I'm here, I need to talk, I need to express myself. The bigger systems I can't change, but within this circle I can change that, so we want to try and explore that. And around that work, we've done lots of panel discussions and participatory work with the community as well. Hopefully, should we get the money, we'll be working with some non-arts organisations to explore this as well, to embed artists with them, with the non-arts organisations. So again, explore more that idea that everybody is an artist. It's just whether you choose to make your living at.
And the responses to this, do they come in different forms, dance or
because on the last one I worked with a guy called Ashley James Brown, we worked with Ash, and we commissioned him to respond to Are We Where We Are. He's a digital artist, so he works with technology, and he said, well, what the hell am I going to do? I'm not a writer, I'm not this, I'm not an actor. And I said, but just think about what you want to talk about. And so he kind of explored through use of imagery and projection, and looking at different forms of technology. He kind of did a bit of a sort of a TED talk type thing, but exploring the ethics of technology, because that's how he makes his living. But it's one thing, technology is a great thing, but also he's aware of some of the ethical standards and demands of that work as well. So we've also, I think, Yeah, I mean, again, one of the other artists in the Are We Where We Are Our project, she wrote 6 short songs to explore that, exploring the Greek myths and how how we define or look at our world sometimes through the use of mythology. And she applied that to the provocation, Are We Where We Are? So again, it's her own response, but she did it through song. Equally, then we've had people who done some stuff through spoken word, and then something more traditional theatre as well. So it's a whole mixture of forms, really. That's become much more. That's why the shop's been such a revelation for us, for Theatre Absolute. Is it's taken us away from work that we used to tour, plays that were an hour and 20 minutes long, and we tour them to a venue, and and then we'd go to another venue.
But that's its beauty, isn't it? In terms of, especially, I was thinking, the reason I asked the question was that it allows people who hitherto had no relationship and are kind of scared of making that leap, and they might have any kind of thought, they thought nobody's ever going to do this, to have a shop front, you walk in and you're in the theatre, that's one of its greatest strengths, isn't it?
That was absolutely what it was about. We hear all the time, don't we, about people say, oh, arts and culture, I don't think it's for me, Or, we said we weren't going to talk about City of Culture, but people say, Coventry, what culture has Coventry got? Well, you guys know, and a lot of other people listening know that culture is literally oozing out of the city, but it's not necessarily what people might think of as culture, because we have these definitions of what culture is, and that's what puts a lot of people off. And so for us, the shop is about, you literally walk through the door, you don't go to a reception, you don't kind of give your name to someone who takes it to someone upstairs, 3 floors upstairs or whatever. You walk in, you say, I want to talk to someone about some writing, or I'd like to come and try and put on my own piece of poetry. Who do I talk to? You go, oh, well, it's me or it's Julia. And if we can't help you, we can signpost you somewhere else. And so it's all absolutely about literally in off the street accessibility. We've got a gym upstairs, and they thump around.
I heard them.
During the shows, that we do. We get skateboarders come down.
Well, it's a bit like the dogs outside here. This is life.
Yeah. And that's it. So it is literally, that's it. It's literally just like saying it's a monk. We live and work in a city, and so let's kind of just put. And we're next door to an off license. We're opposite Argos. So it's trying to sort of take away. I think that's what people.
The mystique and the of it all. Yeah.
You finished it for me.
Did.
You said you weren't going to steal anything.
you can't.
You can't be trusted, can you?
You wouldn't have used mystique.
Well, I was building up to it.
You've got to be quicker. Chris, I'm going to leave you the last word. Please keep it clean.
End.
Thanks ever so much for coming in.
Thank you.
No, it's been great, thank you.
We're really excited.